All right, everyone, there's an article, link in the description, archived out of principle, not because I have a problem with it, that ties the SPLC, the Guardian, the UK newspaper, The Guardian, and a few other groups to Antifa, actually, through a web that looks a little bit like the Data Society report. Although in this case, there's actually, in some cases, it appears a tangible link. For instance, in this report, if you take the leader of Antifa, unofficial, the one that wrote the Antifa handbook, the fucking manifesto or whatever, has ties to multiple people within the legacy media, and through them ties to an enormous web of other commentators, analysts and stuff, mostly on the left, the far left of politics. Now first, cautionary. Like with the Data Society report, just because two people appear connected through some mutual association or they gave an interview or something doesn't necessarily mean that they actually coincide in all or even some of their beliefs. For instance, I've spoken with people that are ethno-nationalistic, people that are on the far left and more progressive, people that are more like general, like a neocon, neo-lib, libertarians and stuff. Just because I associate with someone, or importantly in some cases defend them if they've been censored or whatever, doesn't mean that I agree with their ideology. But here we're talking more about money connections and also corporate connections. It's very interesting because, you know, the Data Society report made its rounds heavily in the legacy media, all the BuzzFeeds and the Gizmodos and the Slates, the Heavy.com, groups like that. I know that their collective audience may be shrinking over time, but they do still have some clout. Are they going to cover the fact that some of their own organizations or people that they frequently cite or talk to or consult are tied to Antifa members? And we're talking like notable figures within Antifa. We're not talking about some random Joe sitting in his basement listening to the communist anthem and waving a little black flag around. We're talking, you know, people who do more of the organizing side. I can believe it. Although, again, I would have to sift through all of the data to find out what the actual connections were. Again, in a cautionary sense, statistics can be quite false in some cases. Like with Data Society, with Becca Lewis's report, the one that was cited so much. If you look at that and you look, if you're a casual normie, reading through the basic first few pages of the Data Society report, what you see is like Styx Hexenhammer is directly connected to Richard Spencer and to all of these other people, even though I'm not ideologically in any way. I've spoken with them. I enjoy talking to people. Some of it's not even political. That doesn't mean you agree with them. Supposedly, Destiny was big in there, and of course I've sparred with him myself. He's a leftist. He's associated with the Data Society report with these other people for debating them, not because he agrees with their ideology. He fucking hates them and is willing to say so sometimes. Bunty King. Okay, he has people on for satirical work, like Berwick constantly. That doesn't necessarily mean that he has anything in common ideologically. Worski's on there and all these others. The blood sports figures were some of the largest. Sargon as well, because he makes these frequent appearances because of the size of his audience. It's like he, you know, makes up his own political term for his beliefs, the liberalists. Just like I'm just a spoon clanker. I'm not even a monarchist anymore. I'm just... All I want to do is sit here and drink coffee and make YouTube videos. Is that a political ideology? Maybe so. I guess that's the new form of Nazism these days. Because I choose to associate with bad, wrong people. They're bad. They're badong. You know, little reference for a few of you to get there. But I can believe that the SPLC would have ties with Antifa. You know, they never seem to identify far left figures or anyone that's, you know, particularly on the left at all as being even potentially hateful. They never have a problem with any statement that they make. They could sit there and ramble about how evil they thought the white race was for an hour, and it wouldn't get them labeled hateful. It wouldn't get them marked for deplatforming. It wouldn't generate any real outrage mob. It's very interesting how that works. The SPLC almost looks like a one-sided political hack organization that outlived its usefulness around the same time that the Ku Klux Klan devolved into a few thousand people that primarily just burned a cross and ate some hot dogs. They don't exactly do the lynching thing anymore, and yet for some reason people still use them as a boogeyman. It's very, very funny. I would think that mocking such groups would be easier because of their declining size and overall ability, but apparently not. That would make less money. The SPLC should open a parody page where they have like political cartoons and stuff like that. Some of which I'm sure would not be cringy. It'd be quite amazing to see. Why don't they fucking do that for all it's worth? But yeah, it's funnier to see the Guardian link to them. Again, I can believe it, though. They probably use them for on-the-ground reporting. Yeah, here's the problem, and this may sound conspiratorial, and I hope that it is. Is there a possibility that some of these legacy media groups make problems in order to report on them, in order to fill up slow news days. Like they say, hey, go break a window, start an Antifa flash mob because, you know, we need you to do that right now. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. Stranger things have happened within the realm of journalism, I'm sure. It's just like half the time BuzzFeed has a problem with some movement that starts on 4chan. I have a feeling the anonymous poster was on the other side of the newsroom. I really do. Who's going to stop them? Who's going to prove that that happened? It's not, you know, unless it's pertinent to a criminal investigation and someone gets uncovered as having posted something untowards on there or somewhere else, some other anonymous forum, because a judge issues a subpoena to grab the info. Other than that, you're never going to know. You're not going to know jack shit. It's just like a few years ago. I can't remember. I think this was in the 2012 election, if I remember correctly. And see if you remember this too. There were reports, and this was posted about online, there were reports that IPs associated with the Washington Mall, like congressional offices and shit, were editing Wikipedia articles maliciously, and they kept getting reversed and eventually got banned, but they were trying to edit articles on politicians, both for and against them, in the run-up to the election, and this was sort of a big thing at the time. I think there was a TV report about it, but it got hushed up pretty quickly. I do remember it. Maybe it's gotten memory hold. You can try to dig up info about that, maybe. If something like that can happen, is it really beyond the realm of possibility that a group even more directly associated with gaining profit off of human misery would try to create a little low-level human misery? I don't think that it's beyond the realm of the pale to suggest that. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Maybe Trudeau should do that. Trudeau should try to salvage his sinking career by having Antifa do something crazy so that he can grandstand about it. I bet politicians do stuff like that too. It's like we look back at like the Tammany Hall era or something and all the sabotage and weird shit that happened, backroom deals back then. Somehow we look at DC today with all the level of corruption and all of the graft and fraud and abuse that happens there, and we say it can't happen now? Or it can't happen among some legacy media group whose, you know, parent company is worth more than half the countries that exist in the world? Yeah, no, I think that it's a situation ripe for abuse. I think you'd be surprised if you could peel back the curtain and see the inner workings of Hollywood and New York City, sort of the media hub of the West, or the Kremlin, or Beijing, or certainly DC or something, or Wall Street. If you could do that, I think you'd find so much filth. I think that it would make you lose your faith in humanity for a while. Then you'd say, oh shit, well, you know, maybe the system should just be burned down and we can rebuild it again because there's too much rot here to deal with. We can't build on a rotten foundation very easily. That's about all. Peace out.